Joined. Thank you, Marcus. Hope everyone's having a great week. My name is Dane Johnson. I'm the lead organizer for 1 Million Cups Fort Collins. We've got a good crew online and a Spartan crew in person. Everyone wanted to stay home in the cold. We've got the faithful, Chris, Leandro, Marcus, and Renee is here today presenting. And you used to attend 1 Million Cups a while ago, right? And now you got a new thing going.
I have a new thing going.
Excellent. So Renee is going to present her new thing this morning. And then this afternoon, not this afternoon. The second presenter is Marcus Wax, one of our organizers. He's going to be talking about how we're going to plug 1 Million Cups into the broader Fort Collins entrepreneurial community, which is one of our main pillars, right? One of our missions. So good to see everyone again. Let's do a quick few introductions. If it's your first time, there's some names I don't recognize, some faces I don't recognize. Alex and Gracie, and then Ozzy, good to see you again. If you three would introduce yourself, your name, where you're calling in from, and what you do. Alex, how about you go first?
Hi, everybody. My name is Alex Kuklinski. I'm in Longmont. I'm a founder of FIO, which is a how-to platform. Recently moved here probably like 6 months ago and just trying to get more plugged into the ecosystem. So I actually used to run 1 Million Cups where I used to live in Omaha, and I did it a lot in Lincoln. So I think it's a great way to get plugged into different ecosystems that you're in.
Awesome. And what is it you're doing now?
So I'm the founder of FIO, so FYI.io. It's a how-to platform. So basically empowers you to create how-to videos and written instructions that are tailored to people's attention spans, learning preferences, accessibility needs. Yeah.
Perfect. All right. Looking forward to a presentation on that.
Yeah, for sure.
Gracie.
Hi, I'm Gracie. I teach at CSU. I've been teaching entrepreneurship and social entrepreneurship for 9 years, but usually teach on Wednesday mornings. And so I can't usually come. So I had availability this morning and thought I'd pop in.
Awesome. Well, glad to have you. And any of those entrepreneurs you're teaching, as they have their brilliant ideas, send them our way. They can present here.
I have one coming in a little late after class today. So,
okay.
And I also do I run sustainability initiatives for the College of Business. So that's the other thing. Nice. But she'll be popping in a little bit.
Cool. Thanks for joining us. And Ozzy, what are you up to these days?
I'm still working hard on the remote patient monitoring technologies from BioBeat and helping them deploy those technologies and helping healthcare providers take advantage of them. So it's been a continuous effort and just putting in a lot of hours trying to get that rolling.
Well, glad you were able to join us this morning. All right, let's see, any community announcements? What's going on out there that everyone should know about? I know we have the Soulful Entrepreneur Summit happening right now this week. Carl is at that. Leandra's been in and out of that. What else is happening out there? Leandra.
I have my Wealthy Women Don't Pinch Pennies talk coming up February 8th and February 14th. So,
okay. How do people find out more about that?
That's a great question. My VA had COVID, so she's just now back. So I think we're going to have an Eventbrite link up soon, maybe some Facebook posts.
Okay. So Wealthy Women Don't Pinch Pennies, February 8th and 14th. So if you're interested in that, hang tight, attend next week and Leandra will know more.
Exactly.
All right, what else?
Krista had her hand
up.
up.
Krista, hi.
Hey, everyone. I just want to remind you all that Made in Loveland Week, or Made in Loveland Month, really, is all the entire month of February. So it's kind of Loveland's version of Startup Week, and they're having it for the whole month. So there's events all throughout the month. They're all happening at Desk Chair in Loveland. So there's an event page up on Eventbrite. Well, actually, I think there's individual Eventbrites you can register for, but they're all listed on the Desk Chair website. So I'll put a link in the chat for anyone who's online, but it's all free. And there's a lot of good presentations happening throughout the month. So I wanted to make sure everyone knew about that. And also, I'm super excited. After I saw Yai present at 1 Million Cups. I reached out to her about presenting at She Goes High. So Yet Yi is presenting at She Goes High next week. So February 2nd at 11:30 in Fort Collins in person. So I'm super excited to have her come and present for us. She was just so great. And that's one of the things I love about 1 Million Cups is how we like find out about what everyone else is doing. And there's a lot of like really awesome stuff happening in our community.
And what did Yet Yi present on?
She will be presenting on next week. It's creative workouts for the like bored, you know, oh so tired of the treadmill woman. That's what her presentation is going to be at She Goes High. Yeah, right. She said expect fun and laughter, and I was like, I'm so there for this.
I love that tagline.
Do you feel like
Very
your
nice.
workouts are taking you nowhere?
Going nowhere fast.
All right, well, without further ado, a slight technical delay, but we'll get going with our first presentation from Renee Walkup. And yeah, I'll let you introduce yourself and 6 minutes, okay?
Yes.
Okay, I will give you a 5-minute warning.
Okay. Good morning, everybody. I will say the only reason I'm presenting is so I could take off my mask. So, anyway, thanks so much, Dane, for getting this going. We on? We're live?
Yes, we got it.
Anyway, hi, good to see everybody's faces again. And it's been a long time. So hope everybody is hanging in there and doing well. And thanks for those of you that came in person because I am an in-person person. So anyway, I'm here to talk about my business and what I've been doing the last few years. And all of this was non-pandemic related. I just want to say that it didn't have anything to do with the fact that I couldn't travel as much and all the things, and I'll be talking about that. So anyway, for those whom we have not met, I'm Renee Walkup and lived here for almost 6 years. And my company now is Renee's Musical Mosaics. So I'm going to start with, my down arrow doesn't want to work.
Do this side arrow.
Everybody go
That doesn't
touch it,
It
Renee.
doesn't like me today either.
Okay.
Just try clicking.
I tried that too. Gosh, sakes.
Oh, I think that's first.
The tech is against us today.
So.
Yes, thank you. Okay, so first I want to talk about the transition of my speaking business into full-time artist. And then my ask today will be not about my presentation, it will be about getting business through what I do. So we'll be talking about that a little later on. I'll transition to that before I end. So first of all, I brought some samples. So I will show you just a little bit about what I'm doing now. Can they see that? Okay, so this Meet Seaside Paradise. This was a ukulele that is retired.
Use your computer camera and there we go.
This way?
Yep, there,
Uh-huh.
perfect.
Now I see.
Yep.
This is Seaside Paradise, and it's a ukulele that was retired. And I took this ukulele and I breathed new life into it in a visual explosion of art. So that's one sample, and I'll have some slides too. And the next one I brought, which has a mask stuck to it, is this is Her Majesty, and this is a retired violin. And somebody did play it. I bought the violin and I turned that into, I want to put it this way, because to me, as I started working on it, I realized it reminded me of the Queen going to the opera. She has on her finery and her jewels. So all of my pieces have a theme of some kind, and most of what I do are musical instruments. But I want to talk a little bit about what I did before. So my job before, as a lot of you know, was traveling all the time, speaking around the world, training, working in the corporate arena. And what happened was the longer we were living here, the more I realized that I was tired of all the travel. And I really was exploring more mosaics. And I started taking classes in a variety of different places, including out of the country. And I realized my real passion is mosaics, which is very tactical. I've always been extremely tactical. I love to touch everything. My dad was an artist. I remember him touching, the walls and restaurants and things like that. And also the fact that I really love to recycle. So those that know me well know that I recycle, and I'm passionate about that. I've been a recycler, reuser for pretty much my whole life. And I realized that by combining the two, my art, my love of mosaics and three-dimensional things, and the sustainability of used stuff and keeping them out of landfills has really been what I'm passionate about. So that's working very well for me in my new career. And this is a full-time job. This is not a hobby. It was funny, last summer, my husband had a friend who came to visit, and I was in my studio and I was working, and he would walk by, and he's a good old Southern boy, as they call themselves in South Carolina. And Hayward would walk by and say, "What a nice hobby you have." And it would just like rankle me, because this is truly full-time. I probably spend about 50 hours a week either procuring materials or designing or gluing or grouting, this is definitely a full-time job. My weakness where I need your help is in the marketing side. So in this slide right here, I wanted you to meet Elvis. Elvis is a full-size guitar that I transformed by using upcycled glass, and there's some vintage jewelry. The belt I made out of leather. It was a leather belt, and I painted it, and then I added all kinds of crystals and accoutrements to it. And this was in an art show recently called Lost and Found, and that took place in Lafayette. So there's Elvis. I wanted to introduce you to Dolly. Dolly is a junior guitar, so it's about yay tall. And I was inspired because the guitar itself was pink. And I started thinking about the materials I had on hand, because again, I procure pretty much all the time. So this was used glass that somebody had given me, the pinks were, and then I have been collecting vintage jewelry for a lot of years. So I used a lot of that and some recycled and upcycled materials. 5 minutes already? Okay, I'm gonna shoot through the glass. So here are more guitars. Each one has a theme. 4 corners, as you can see, Aramis, Flora de Maya, which has a Mayan calendar. There's Blue Jean Baby, which has that kind of Southwestern theme. Next, Polaris Over the Rockies. That sold recently to a woman in LaPorte. And it has all kinds of materials on it. Pinion Pitch, you can see kind of, again, that Southwestern theme. That's a ukulele. Here's a couple of my violins. You can see Her Majesty Cabaret on the right, which I'm getting ready to enter into a black and white show. Then Starry Nights, which sold to a gentleman who lives in Boulder. He's a professor and fell in love with that. And it's one of my favorites. And A Night Out, which is living above a woman's piano in the Midwest. So she bought that. Let's go to my objectives today. So I can't see it because of the screen, but I obviously want to reach musicians and get my pieces into their homes. I want to reach musicians' friends and family so that they can buy and create and ask me for custom work for the musicians in their lives. And gain custom orders, obviously, secure influencers. So I would like to have I always feel like if I can get just one famous person being an influencer, and I cannot be giving these things away to everybody, the time and the materials involved is just absolutely incredible. It's not like painting a painting where you use, you have reusable brushes and you use some paints and it's not very expensive. These are very, very expensive and they're extremely time consuming. For example, Her Majesty probably took 30 hours for me to make. So I can't be giving a lot of stuff away. So I just want to bring that out before you all start talking. And last, create a demand so that I can create instruments for people and sell them. And of course, I want to make more money. And I want to have more fun. And those are the two things that I've always loved to do in my work life. So I've transitioned now from my old work life to my new work life. And this is what I love to do. So thank you for your attention today. And I'm really looking forward to getting your feedback and hearing your ideas of how to reach those objectives of reaching the musicians, getting the influencers, and getting the custom orders and selling more product. Thank you.
Good to have you back, and thanks
Thank
for
you.
bringing some samples to
Sure.
show. That
And
was
you're welcome to touch them. I also brought some poster cards here, postcards and some business cards, so feel free to take as many as you want
Okay.
and put them out, give them away.
Do you have a website, or is this your,
I have
like
a
your Facebook?
website, which is just reneesmusicalmosaics.com.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't really, that doesn't look right on there.
Cool. Who wants to get us started with some questions or comments? Marcus?
This might sound strange, but I would say be your own influencer in the sense that it's the most genuine. It might take you some time to figure out what you need to figure out on the video editing side of things, but I usually tend to be more engaged, speaking for myself, with the original creator. One of my favorite YouTube channels is good old houseimprovements.com, which is hosted by a very nice Canadian fella. And it's genuine because he's showing you how to frame a wall. He's showing you how to sheetrock. He's showing you all that. So I think some content about your process, and in particular, you being excited when one of your pieces is done. It'll take more time, but I think it's going to be more organic and genuine, and more people are going to be more excited and interested about that kind of content versus, oh, I'm a musician and I bought this cool thing. By people coming to your YouTube channel or your website, they're already engaging with you in a more meaningful way, and they're already interested in what you're doing inherently, whereas only 5 or 10% of an influencer's market might also, or viewer base, I should say, might also be interested in what you're doing. So I would kind of dedicate the time and effort to be your own influencer first and see how many follows and likes you get.
And how would I drive traffic?
That's someone else. That's someone else's bailiwick.
Oh,
I actually do.
and I'm taking notes, by the way. I'm not texting my friends. Even though I got a bunch of
Yeah,
messages.
I don't really care what you're saying, Marcus. Actually, Ozzy asked if you could stop sharing your screen so that they could see everybody.
Oh,
There you
okay.
I can do
Dave's
that,
going to
Bob.
help me with that. Thank you.
Yeah, okay, but actually, I had no idea. I was sitting there, I was like, I have no idea how to do this until Marcus said that. Then I was like, actually, you make an excellent point, because as I'm scrolling Pinterest for my meal plan for the week, I keep seeing this woman who made all-in-one paint. I don't know if it's chalk paint or what, but like anybody can refinish furniture. All you need is her product and her little Pinterest videos, which they're paid ads. So I see them like every scroll. She just has a camera that she has on her while she's painting this curio cabinet, and then she just puts it in fast forward so that I can watch her paint this curio cabinet really fast, and I can do it in 30 minutes, just like HGTV. But I think it's sort of the same thing. Like maybe you just mount a camera that's sitting over your workspace, and maybe you have a couple of them so you can get the different angles of seeing you. And maybe you just take a video and you're like, oh, I'm out. Oh my gosh, look at this piece that I just found at wherever you find your pieces. Like you're, as my friend calls it, it's sawdust. Like that's the product, but there's all this sawdust that has value too. And that's you going out and procuring, like you make a video of where you found this piece.
Great, thank you.
But the answer to your question is maybe it's Pinterest ads to have the videos so that as I'm scrolling, I see Renee making her latest ukulele.
Okay, thanks.
Chris?
Hey, I'll have some other questions too, follow on, and I'll let other people get in, but I just wanted to set some context just so I understand. What are we talking price point wise? I'm trying to figure out who your customer is.
Okay, so the instruments start at 300 and then they go to about 1,500.
Okay.
Krista?
Yeah, Renee, you said you were looking to connect with musicians. Are you thinking that musicians are going to be the primary person who's going to buy these beautiful art pieces?
So good question. So sometimes, so I've done a couple of shows and art shows, and it seems like I can always tell the guitarists they come, like make a beeline to my booth. So they're not necessarily, they don't necessarily, those shows have not necessarily been my best source of revenue, but it's a great way to do marketing, I mean, to learn more. So musicians seem to love them. Musicians often too, they'll have an instrument they can't play anymore because it's, broken or old or whatever, and they don't want to let it go. It's like an old girlfriend or boyfriend. So that's another market that I've thought of. I don't know how to get it exactly going, but that's one idea. And I think that also people like to buy unique gifts for their musician love. So does that answer your question?
Yeah, absolutely. Because I was just thinking it was interesting that you were really identifying musicians specifically. I love to surround myself with original artwork. I am an artist myself. I am not a musician, and I think your pieces are gorgeous. So I don't think that I don't think your primary audience is even necessarily musicians. Anyone who really appreciates art. I would say it may be expanding who you think you're selling to, because musicians may be interested in these pieces, but I think plenty of other people would be as well. So just kind of wanted to share that feedback as someone who collects original art and is really looking for those opportunities. And I would encourage you to get connected in with the art community and as well. That might be something to consider as far as just like where are they selling, having the most success selling, and all of those types of things. And I would, when you talked about how much time and money goes into each piece, you talked about, well, it's not like a painting, and you kind of described a little bit, and it sounded a little bit to me like you were saying, well, painting's not that expensive, or painting's not that, this is more important. And so I would also just invite you to consider, when you're talking about the unique materials and the process, you don't need to, I think, compare it to someone else's art or to some other art form, for people to realize that what you're doing is really special and unique, and that it takes a bit, like, that all of the resources and beauty that go into each piece. Like, I don't think there needs to be a comparative element there. I think that the art can stand on its own, and that will really create, within the artist community. I've gotten involved in the artist community a little bit over the past couple of years, and I just think that not taking out that comparison will just really help create better connections.
Thank you. And I usually don't, but I appreciate that. Thank you. I think I'd seen that Bob Ross documentary, and then kind of ended up in my head. But anyway, thank you so much.
Bill.
Hi, Renee, long time no see, right?
Thank you.
Hey, I got a quick question. So when or it's actually a comment, when I think about what you're doing, you're recycling something, you're adding a really creative element to it. It reminds me of that company in town that recycles old watches, the railroad watches. I can't remember the name of that company.
Vortex.
And what is it?
Vortex.
Yeah. And I would chat with those guys just to find out, it's in many ways, very similar, and probably get some good ideas on how are they doing sales. I think they're pretty successful right now.
They are. That's
Very,
a
and
good idea.
they've priced high.
We've got Alex.
Hi there. Yeah, I'm Alex. Couple things. So, I used to run a startup accelerator in Nebraska. And one of the most common things that when companies came into the program said they want to do is marketing. But then when I asked what their customer persona was, they kind of were like, so, my main question is what is your customer persona? Like in the ones that you have sold, what do they look like? What do they do? Where they shop? What hobbies do they have? And then I have a follow-on question to that, but I'll let you answer that first.
Good question. And I don't know that I've fully identified exactly that.
And that's okay. I would say, before you spend any money on marketing, the last thing you want to do is put money into a black hole that is the marketing machine. And so I would invite you to, take a look at the ones you have sold, exactly look at, what they look like and how they act, and then start testing it. You know, you can do like little weekly experiments manually, like reaching out to different types of folks and seeing like what sticks better. You know, one thing that Marcus mentioned that I really liked is, you know, making content and being your own influencer. I think I'm biased because I do how-tos all the time, but I really think like how-to content is amazing because it's always searchable. Like people are always searching for how to do something, especially if you can be in a niche. And I think a great niche would be like the recycling community. You know, if you can share like your processes, how you source things, blah, blah, blah. I'm not like a big, I mean, I recycle, but I don't know everything about that process. But, you know, I think that could be really cool for folks that are really into that stuff. People will be searching for how to do that. And then, oh, by the way, here's the stuff I sell. That's pretty common on YouTube. And then what was the other thing I was going to say? Oh, like when you go to shows and stuff, that can be like one other way that you stand out maybe amongst a sea of other vendors, you know, at a, you know, DIY show or something like that, because, you know, then you have like a screen that maybe you have your YouTube videos on a loop, and maybe you pull people in and be like, oh, like, what are you doing here? What are you doing there? And then you have a conversation about your process, not necessarily about your products, but about your process. And maybe that's kickstarts a conversation. So.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
All right, last one with Ozzy. And then if you have more comments and questions, find Renee afterward, find her online. But Ozzy, go ahead.
Yeah, Renee, I just a couple of items, and that has to do with your price point. The story of the starving artist is well taken in the sense that a lot of times people work very hard to create art and then they sell it. And if you ask them, do you ever calculate how long it took you to create the thing, how much effort it took you to sell it? And by the time you run the numbers, you find out you're working below minimum wage, and that's usually not where you want to be at. So here's a couple of things. First of all, if your price point is low enough, then you're not into creating art, you're into manufacturing, because it's the only way you're going to make money.
Again? I didn't hear that. Can you say that
Yes.
again?
If your price point is low enough, then you're not into creating art, you're manufacturing. You have to be able to get these things out cheap enough, fast enough, so that you can make a profit. Second of all, if you want to kick it upstairs and you want to make more money and actually run it like a business, then you can use some of the less expensive pieces. I have a friend of mine who does that. I have some of her pieces. She has a very unique, but she's known internationally. So she sold pieces to the Vatican and to, you know, the royals and all of that. So anyways, that's a kind of a different story, but she creates some less expensive pieces that people can utilize to then get into the whole system and start buying more expensive ones. Every one of her pieces is unique, kind of like yours. But her price points are much, much higher on a very complex piece. I mean, those things sell for anywhere from $40,000 to $250,000. So she has the luxury of spending months getting her creation right. Whereas if you're looking at the highest end price point at $1,500, then one of the things I would suggest you do is go back and ask yourself, how much money do I want to make in a year? And then take in your gross margin and see how many of these things you have to sell in a year to make the amount of money you want to make. And if the numbers don't add up, then you need to rearrange or somehow recast your product so that you can be, you know, economically successful. So the one thing that I will say, just in observing what you're doing, is that at a purely business level, just looking at gross profits and margins and so on, I just didn't see it. So maybe you've done all of this, and maybe it makes perfect sense to you. But the artists that I've seen that have actually made a business out of doing what you are doing, in general, have much higher price point because it takes a lot of time and a lot of material to create each piece.
Right, thank you.
All right. Thanks, everyone, for the comments and questions. Good stuff. Renee, thanks very much for coming in.
Thank you, everybody. Good to see everyone.
Looking forward to your YouTube and your Pinterest channels. So share those on the 1 Million Cups Facebook page when you get those, and we'll check that out.
So now instead of 50 hours a week, I'll be working 60
There
hours
you
a week.
go. All right,
Taking
taking a quick break, grab a cup of coffee. We'll get Marcus set up and we will talk about how we, as 1 Million Cups, can connect to the broader Fort Collins and Northern Colorado communities. So grab another cup of coffee. We'll be right back.
I didn't know what you two said, but
We should get an intern. I
Oh.
said you're gonna charge more and then you're
All right, you're on.
All right, cool. Well, all right, everyone, I have been, I don't know, I was halfway between volunteering and being recruited to be your community partnership organizer. So we were looking for another presentation and I was asked to fill in here quick and share that vision for community organization. So good morning, everyone. I've been dubbed the community organizing partner, like I was just rambling on about. So I guess we've got to get down to organizing the community. For a refresher, these are the roles that the Kaufman Foundation, our beloved national sponsors, have suggested be filled in any 1 Million Cups chapter. So, whoops. So, but why should I care, right? That organizing role is all well and good, but why should anyone want to attend our chapter 1 Million Cups? Why should anyone come in on a Wednesday morning? Why should I encourage anyone else to present? Why should I attend? Well, it's really 3 reasons: feedback, connections, and free stimulants.
How many stimulants are we talking about here? Is it just free stimulant?
Especially the free stimulants, the caffeine. That's really the hook. It's really the coffee habit. But jokes aside, first of all, we really need that high quality feedback, and that's something that I think we've provided over the years. High quality feedback it relies on a diverse group of people regularly participating, right? Diverse in every possible way. Not only the more commonplace axes such as gender, race, or age, which we hear about often, but equally important, like yet less discussed axes, like profession, industry, degree of optimism, or even just your hobbies and interests. The more varied and richer the crowd, really the broader and deeper feedback we can provide. And really the only common traits we need out of a crowd for this to all work are respect, camaraderie and people with kind of a doer mindset, right? They want to go out in the community, they want to build a business, they want to change something, they want to start a nonprofit. And connection. Connection relies on 1 million cups being one of the nodes, one of the focal points of our community for doers. I say doers because, like I was mentioning earlier, I envision our chapter of 1 million cups being a broad church of both businesses as well as nonprofits, foundations, and even community events that people are participating in, right? When at long last the pandemic ends and there's, the next generation of music festival that replaces, say, Bohemian Nights, which we're not going to see anymore. I would love to hear about those kind of events as well, because I mean, they are complex, right? So the diverse crowd of attendees I described will have even more diverse connections to sustain an inflow of presenters and regular attendees, or at least semi-regular attendees, and an outflow of experts for coaching, accounting, legal help, executives, investors, and even a little friendly advice over a cup of coffee, right? It being a node means that we have to have a dynamic inflow and a dynamic outflow, right? We have to attract people, but at the same time, push people back out again and provide value of all stripes to the community. So now that we're deep into this presentation, at least some of the crowd, knowing me, will be wondering when I'll be offering up some sort of contorted, strange analogy. And here it is, one of the hearts.
I saw it. Yeah.
Right. Which is 1 million cups should be an octopus heart, specifically of the Fort Collins community, because octopi have 3 hearts. But just like all of us creatures that only have 1 heart, all 3 of those hearts need to work in concert for the creature to stay alive, right? So just like a good old octopus heart, we need that healthy inflow and outflow, and we need a regional presence, right? We should strive to be one of those nodes. We should strive to be one of those hearts of our Northern Colorado community. So my role is that of officially carrying the 1 million cups flag to other community institutions and events to encourage the leaders and organizers of those institutions and events to remember us and help us build those connections and build those flows. How I'm going to do that is a series of meetings with key figures at other organizations and pulling together kind of a 1 million cups roadshow, just kind of a canned presentation I can take on the road. However, if we lean on my efforts alone for this chapter, it will remain a shadow of what it could be. I need everyone in this room and online to be ready to evangelize 1 million cups to others. So help me build those connections and feed presenters to Natalie as well. Dane mentioned in an email to me that he was looking forward to my vision for the community partnerships. So in summary, that vision is this. 1, build a friendly, supportive space of people with diverse backgrounds, skills, and perspectives as both presenters and participants to provide a broad and deep as feedback to presenters as possible. 2, build 1 million cups into a node in Northern Colorado with interconnections to a broad array of experts, professionals, investors, and other fellow doers like ourselves. And finally, you have to help me. And seriously, I honestly can't do it by myself. I will take on that road of officially waving the banner when I can, but I'm only one person and I need you to recruit other people. So look at this. My vision just so happens to mirror the official 1 million cups pillars, which is presentations, connections, and community. Who would have guessed? But jokes aside, my vision mirrors the 1 million cups vision because I bought into the 1 million cups vision 3 years ago, before the pandemic, when this chapter was really at the height of its reach and impact. Our job is not only that of rebuilding, but building it to even loftier heights. My vision is to simply remain true to what has made us awesome in the past, what still makes us awesome and will make us awesome in the future, which is really being true to the 3 pillars. So my asks are pretty simple. I need introductions for meetings and to take the roadshow actually on the road. Who should I be presenting to? Who should I be talking to? The Rotary, CSU, who? And second of all, I'm going to offer everyone, both here and online, the Marcus Wax Springtime Challenge to do your part, which is each one of you bring a new face, to 1 million cups at least once, because springtime is the time for new beginnings.
There needs to be some tulips.
Sorry, the presentation was a little rough, folks, both online and for me. I was, or in person, I should say, I was asked to do this 2 days ago, so I leaned on my speaking notes a little harder than I usually would have liked. But that being said, so feedback, thoughts, obviously, as far as those asks go, if you do have introductions for me, I'd love to hear them, but also my contact info is on the ask screen here, so you can email me or text or call with ideas about who I should talk to. Awesome. Especially the Lions Club.
Well, first of all, a huge thank you, Marcus, for being willing to take this on. As you all have noticed from me, I'm not a very charismatic, outgoing person, and to everything that I am not, Marcus is. And so we got together for coffee afterwards, and it was like, yeah, he would be fantastic at this. So I'm really looking forward to, the connection beyond 1 million cups. That has been what was so valuable to me starting my companies, is all the connections that you guys provided to me beyond 1 million cups. And I'm not as well plugged in as others. So Marcus is going to be kind of our focal point, and we wanted to have a discussion with everyone here in person, online. Where do we need to be connecting? So let's just have a bit of discussion on that. Who wants to get us started? Ozzy. And Marcus, go ahead, turn off the
You're
screen
muted,
share.
Ozzy.
Okay.
There we go. Hopefully, just a little bit of feedback, and that is, in the modern world, people always talk about connections and this and that and the other, and business is about making money. So quite frankly, I don't need to be connected to a lot of things that don't make any money for me, because I already have a lot of friends. I make friends easily. And so, would I take an hour of the week, every week, to go make connections? No, not unless it translates into some tangible business return. And one of the challenges that I've had with 1 million cups is figuring out where's the returns, how do we measure it? If you go to someone and say you should go to 1 million cups, then the next question is why? And it cannot be your why. It has to be their why. And I always go back to Clayton Christensen from Harvard, who said there's a job to be done, that concept. And he said that we don't just access services and buy things. We hire them to do a job. And so we need to be clear on what job they're being hired to. If we don't get that clear, we oftentimes get lost in terms of what the value is. And I'll leave you with a real quick one that he used to put out there. And that is, in China for a long time, they were selling microwaves, and the companies were competing over microwaves, and some companies were doing better, and they were trying to figure out the why. But they were talking to the husbands, and they were saying, well, they were talking to the wives, and they were using it in the kitchen, this, that, and the other. And then they went and talked to the husbands, and the husband gave them a real simple answer. Ever since I bought those microwaves, my wife doesn't have to work so hard, and we have a better sex life. So the job of the microwave for the husband was more sex. Okay. So ever since then, if you're selling to the wife is, look, this wonderful thing for the kitchen, it can save you time, blah, blah, but if you're selling to the husband is, buy your wife a microwave, you'll get more sex, and then they sell like crazy. So anyhow, my point simply is, and Amy, you know this very well in marketing, and that is that messaging is critically important. And I have to say, I like 1 million cups, a great place to hang out. I've met a lot of good people and all of that, but it has never been too clear to me with one exception. And that is, if you need to create a slide deck, if you need to do a presentation to attract investors, it's a great place to be. If you want to just get some feedback, that works really well. But it's hard for me to quantify the value to the people who join. Now I can quantify the value into 1 million cups, but that's not the point, because you're trying to attract people and it comes down to the value as they see it. So anyways.
Thank you, Ozzy. Bill, Marcus, go ahead.
Answer briefly what I think my vision for that value would be.
Please.
In short, Ozzy, what I would argue, what we're trying to build, which was baked into my presentation, is twofold. As you're right, both the feedback on the presentation itself, which is value you've already seen, but the second piece that I would like to have is a vetted network of really solid experts, particularly attorneys, CPAs, that sort of thing, where when you come to 1 Million Cups and you've got a new business or a new project, you're immediately plugged into almost all the support you really need. You know, you can walk into that room and you're going to get a lot of the professional and expert help you need, and it's all going to be personally vetted by other people in the room. It's the best possible place to come for word of mouth recommendations for many of the professionals and other connections you need.
Cool. I like that.
Yeah.
All right, Bill.
So I sent you a chat note with a guy's name on it. And I guess my idea is getting better connected with CSU, in particular, the I4E program. This is a program that Scott Schrake runs. And he's got a couple of programs called Venture Validator, Venture RAM. These are very, very early stage ideas, you know? And so I think 1 Million Cups offers a really good stage, right, for these people to get real feedback on, you know, outside the university.
Yeah, I had been this close to talking with Arthur Sintas.
He's gone now, right?
He's gone. So we've got to find.
He's working with Jennifer.
Yeah. Yeah, CSU is a great, another node for us to connect to for sure. And so it's great that Gracie is here. All right, Brian.
Yeah, so I would say that for me, I've seen value in coming because I've had clients come out of this, but also it's really helpful for people who need to build that network of people. I never know when I need to refer someone to a coach until they ask me. And then all of a sudden I can go, they need to talk to Dane because they're an engineer who's doing this thing. And whether or not he can help them, he can at least guide them towards the right way. So I do very much see value in just knowing lots of people in industry, because while I am slightly offended by the plural of attorneys there, Marcus, I also understand that I'm not the right fit for everyone.
Well, and also too, I mean, in the spirit of 1 Million Cups, we were looking to recommend the best people in their fields in the community, right?
Now I'm slightly more offended.
Just the ones we know, of course.
Just say yes, Brian.
Should be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Am I the best?
Leandra.
I think what I would say, because I actually have been asking myself this, to Ozzy's point, because someone invited me to a BNI group that if I joined it would be at this time every single week. And so I've been having to ask myself, like, is 1 Million Cups the best use of my time? And I think to the point that you made like 3 years ago, absolutely. Now, I love seeing my friends every week. But to Ozzy's point, like, I'm using it as a social hour. However, that being said, kind of to Brian's point, like, part of my goal is to be a Cindy Skalicki. Like, we say, well, Cindy's not here, but she would say, and we send people to Cindy even though she's not here very regularly anymore. And so, like, I would like to be that person for pricing and profitability. Like, well, Leandra's not here, but, and that's kind of what Brian's point is. And I love that I have been coming for so long that I can say, oh, you should talk to, hey, who's that company that runs the housing app, right? Like, that we can make those connections, even though those people aren't coming regularly. or haven't been here in years that we still remember and can still make those connections. And I think that that is the value that 1 Million Cups provides.
And you bring up an interesting point and about why we have to attend is 1 Million Cups is an interesting situation that in order to continue to get those referrals, you have to kind of pay it forward on some of your time and expertise, right? Prime example being is, and I don't mean to harsh on Cindy, right? I mean, she's been super busy and been getting a lot of clients. You know, some of these cycles play themselves out in the space of quarters or years. But that being said, at some point, she, in order to remain a person we commonly refer to, and this is just the nature of forgetting, right? Like she has to be here. So like 1 Million Cups is an interesting environment in that there really is a balance of give and take. That if Cindy isn't offering those speaking note recommendations for, 18 months, right? We don't see her face for a year and a half. That connection in the network will start to degrade. It'll get weaker. So it's just interesting that we do rely on having people here on a regular basis, and we need to cultivate that in our hybrid format, but you get back what you put in.
Yeah, and 1 Million Cups, I mean, the way we organize it, right? We want presenters who've been in business less than 5 years. So it kind of lends itself to, we're here for a certain season of an entrepreneur journey. At some point, you'll outgrow 1 Million Cups, and that's the goal. Hopefully your business does outgrow 1 Million Cups and you still come back for the connection or to give it back, Jenny.
Can I add just another value that I have here? Like, it's fun seeing my friends. Hi, Grace. She's in my department.
Nice.
And all of that stuff. But I really kept coming because I was trying to figure out my business. And I learn a lot from the presentations, not because I need their business, but because in looking at what they're thinking about, I'm like, I haven't thought of that, or that's an interesting idea. I haven't tried that. Or they say, I talked to this person and I'm like, oh, I need to talk to that person. So I think there's also in this, there's a lot of educational value that people who are figuring out their business can talk to other people or see people's presentations and learn more about what they can do or should do, and be able to ask those questions in a space where, again, like I work in a business school, but I'm not going to talk to those people about, I don't know what I'm doing.
Well, and as another example, and I agree with you. I mean, I don't know, hard to quantify something that I still think was very valuable to me today. And I mean, and this purely comes from the interaction of people in this room is, I'm terrible with names. Your name again, Renee? Right?
Renee.
Okay. So when Ozzy commented on Renee's presentation about working backwards from your price point to figure out how long you wanted to work, it was very interesting that it validated me taking the same approach years ago, because Ozzy's rode this rodeo a long time, in giving you that advice. I had a furniture building business once upon a time, and we did exactly the same thing to try to determine how much we wanted to work. I had never been exposed to the idea before, but I was talking with my partners at the time, and I was like, oh, is this a good idea? And everyone's like, yeah, we really don't want to work more than 55 hours a week. So that is one of the ways we help determine our price. So it was very interesting that entirely unbidden, I had done something 3 years ago. Someone who is Ozzy's kind of entrepreneurial experience suggested and reinforced that I did the right thing because of your presentation. I've never been in an environment other than 1 Million Cups where I could say that that was true. Right?
Awesome. Thanks, Marcus. Now, Alex, I saw you had your hand up. Did you have something to add?
Oh, I just didn't want to beat a dead horse, but I mean, I guess more or less it was, I've always, because I ran 1 Million Cups, right? Like I kind of had this, similar thoughts, Marcus, and I've always viewed 1 Million Cups as a melting pot of the community, like folks from different backgrounds, expertises, blah, blah, blah. And then being able to always point folks that are new to entrepreneurship here, because it is that node that you can at least take that next step and have them kind of go on their way. And then I can't remember who said it, but I mean, I've always viewed 1 Million Cups as one of those things like you graduate from. So you might not come every week, but then you do have some regular cadence because you want to maintain the relationships, and it's just a fun place to be. But yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, Alex. All right, well, let's wrap up. I love the discussion. Thanks for all the feedback. Renee, thanks for the presentation.
Thank you.
Marcus, thanks again for the presentation. If I had known this was your first time ever presenting up 1 million cups, I might have given you an easier thing.
I've never, okay, jokes aside, I've just never been in a position to have a business yet. Like I haven't launched anything. Like I really like the community and I really like participating, but the timing has never been right.
All right,
Yeah,
everyone.
it's weird.
We got to figure out how to launch a business for Marcus. All right, well, let's wrap up. Any, who's had some wins this week? What's been
Your local
going
conglomerate,
good out there?
Waxco.
I'll get us started. The IT system was a mess when we got here and someone left the storage closet unlocked so I could hard reset the stuff. So anytime you're using a community room, leave the IT cabinet. Huge help. Brian.
So this is less of a win and more something that is coming up and is going to be interesting for a couple of people who work in our community. Yesterday, the Supreme Court of Connecticut unanimously ruled that the state public accommodation law prevented women's only gyms. So we have a similar public accommodation law. I need to dig into the case to find out how broad and sweeping it is, but it is one of several cases that have come up arguing about gender discrimination in selling to one particular gender. So for all of those who are potentially in that, you might want to take a look at that case.
Just keep referring men to me and then I can always have one token man in my program.
All right. And,
Leandra, I'm sending them that way.
and who needs some help this week? All right, you all got it under control. Good. All right, well, we are at time. We will dismiss. We'll be back here next week. Thank you all for joining online, in person. Have a great rest of your day.
Thanks, guys.
Bye, everyone. All right.
Love that picture of you.